This is a mess.
Yeah. a big mess.
I just want your heart, yeah, I want your heart. I just want your heart, 'cause I want you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching First Kill. I almost said Kill Count. This is So I'm Watching First Kill, Season 1, Episode 7.
First Goodbye.
I think this one was better than the previous one in that things happened that I was interested in and it made me laugh.
Yeah.
The previous one was just boring.
Yeah.
But
this is unhinged.
but it's like the script was in another language and they put it through Google Translate. Because I'm getting there by the end, but it's like the scene where Ben comes in and the townspeople are after, they think it's Calliope, which we don't find out that they think it's Calliope till well into the episode. And Ben gets in there and he just has this full-blown conversation about
moving to his dad.
Yeah, going to live with his dad and how he can't bring Juliet with him because they'll find her there too, yada yada. And then
and oh, by the way.
Well, no, he doesn't even say it. They propose a plan or something. Yeah. And he's like, well, that won't work. He was like, they think, how did he phrase it too? He was like, you're the monster they're after to Calliope. And I was like, to the point where I was like, is this a reveal that she is a monster? Like, if I were Ben and had that information, I would go running into the room like, Calliope, they think it's you.
Yeah.
Like,
don't do anything stupid.
Oh my God, it was so weird.
All right, so the thing for me about this episode is, in the first place, this show took a hard left turn into MAGA territory that I was not anticipating or prepared for.
I don't know why I wasn't anticipating it or prepared for it, because it be everywhere.
It do be everywhere. I'm not a fan. And then the other thing is that you were like, stuff at least happened, which is true, except for it's like, for like the last 4 episodes, these moms have been like, you are not to see that girl again, for both of them, respectively. And then it's just like in every single episode, they show up somewhere public holding hands with each other. And on the one hand, I'm like, obviously they go to school together. What are these moms thinking? That they're not spending 8 hours a day together regardless? But on the other hand, I'm like, can you guys seriously? I don't. What are you thinking? Because Cal is like, my parents will protect you.
So, okay.
And I'm like, all evidence to the contrary.
Because my thing is, if these families are as close-knit as they're presenting them.
They're not.
No, but I'm saying if they are at a certain point, your trusted and beloved daughter showing up with a vampire, the way your brain should go is like, okay, because of my trust and love for my daughter, she must have or know something I don't, yada, yada. They've done a decent job lampshading it, especially from the hunter's perspective, with this implication that if you've been bitten by a vampire, you can be connected to them.
Yeah.
So,
although that also in this episode is hand waved with one sentence that someone else overhears, which is, I think it's Talia saying she's obviously the severing didn't work because Cal is with her of her own free will. And I'm like, did you not before you went through this super intense process that damaged your daughter and your son irreparably? Did you not think to ask your daughter if she was with this vampire of her own free will?
So I can't with Theo, and I mean, good news, I don't have to anymore. But because
that was a death of his own making.
Oh, like 3 ways over. Well, and again, the show is technically earning these things, but it's not the inertia, the narrative, like that's not there. Because I'm like, what is this obsession he has with his long dead mother? And the show is like,
20 years dead at least.
Yeah, and they're like, oh well, the I want to say summoning. That's not.
No, the severing.
The severing.
Yeah, that
unearthed these things, which again, it just all the more proof that they should have never done that to begin with, which they admitted they didn't know what they were doing. So,
but the other thing too is his whole motivation in finding out which legacy vampire killed his mother, which he is again basing completely on unearthed memories of a 5-year-old child. He's like, I need to find out who it was so I can kill them. To which my response is, you still don't know how to kill legacy vampires. This can't wait?
These things, I mean, this is one of the myriad things that needs to be researched.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite, and this is the part of the show that I'm enjoying, this is the things that I'm sort of 100% here for, is that we get this scene where Apollo comes downstairs into the basement, which is either a like sacred safe space or a communal area, depending on it's the room of requirements, I guess.
It's a communal training area.
But no, so there's this weird door that
Also, sorry to continue this, and I guess they have like kind of a Frank Lloyd Wright house, but like there are no basements in Savannah, Georgia. It's below sea level.
That is number 18 on my list of grievances.
Just saying, I'm just putting it out there.
Because back to this door in this basement in the Frank Lloyd Wright house in Savannah, Georgia.
It's apparently connected to the Underground Railroad of hackers.
Connected to where? Because all that I could come to, the conclusion I could come to is that man just lives in there, in this closet that they go. Because
I assumed it had to be a tunnel, but who knows?
To where? To outside of the house?
Yeah,
I mean, so, and the guy was that. Well, he did not.
It's just like one of those side doors into the garage.
So I was real hung up there.
Yeah,
that was my first of all.
Like, have you been living in the walls? What are you doing? Because I thought it was like a little chamber that they had caught someone else and put them in there.
And so they don't explain any of that, but they make sure to explain how the computers are not traceable because they're Faraday cases. And I'm like, again, on the list of things I needed an explanation for, that was so far down. And also
like,
they introduce him as being from the guild.
Yeah, like we don't need to bring the good name of Dr. Faraday into the like just say these are untraceable computers. Like, that's all
now I'm
need.
wondering what Jeremy Davies is doing.
Me too. Every time I hear that name, I think of Jeremy Davies.
It was bizarre. So they're trying to research. So this man is a hacker from the guild, hacking into the guild.
I think
the guild also shows up.
I think he's not sanctioned from the guild.
Well, that was evident by the time we got.
Yeah.
And I did love his sort of like Jurassic Park, like.
If I don't move, they can't see me.
When JoJo came barging in.
This bitch too. And also, there was so much, like, I feel like what's happening, to me, it feels very like something where there's a lot in the short story. I imagine there's a lot of characters that are either just mentioned by name or they're very transient. They just come in and out. And this TV show is obviously longer than that. And so they're trying to like pump up the characters a little bit. But it was like there was this bizarre text exchange after they found these illicit Faraday computers and stuff where JoJo goes back upstairs. Talia takes out her phone, texts her husband Jack and says, your ex-girlfriend is on her way back upstairs. I'll get Theo to tell you why. And we spend enough time hanging on the text exchange for Jack to write back, she was never my girlfriend.
Which also prompted me to say, who the hell is Jack? Because there's too many characters and all of them have a minimum of 3 names.
Yeah. Because Calliope's middle name is Antigone.
Yeah, well, I love that. Yeah. That's, again, so far down on my list of complaints. Yeah. But it's like her name is Jules or Juliet or Letty or Sweet Little or like, and why does Ben call his name Bunny? But then later we found out her name is like Beatrice. Beatrice!
It's like Bernice.
Or Bernice or whatever. And then is his name Sebastian or is it Bash or is it
and also why is his son calling him Bash?
Which, well, before they made out, before he called him a dirty little slut. Everything was so weirdly charged. Everything.
So well, you were like the Theo and Apollo. You were like, are they like
they keep pinging,
not related?
They keep pinging like tension.
Yeah.
Like,
and so did Oliver and Sebastian as well, 100%.
That man, this is murky territory. I don't like to get into all of that, but I'm going to. Will Swinson is apparently a heterosexual man married to
Audra McDonald,
the immaculate Audra McDonald, but he has big gay vibes. Like he's just like
he has Broadway vibes.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
I think that's all that needs to
sure
happen.
I love it. I think he's great, and I think pairing him with Elizabeth Mitchell here works as well. I mean, she's not the same as Audra McDonald, but they exist on a similar plane in their own respective.
It's also like he feels like he needs to be domineered by a woman. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Again, there's so many leaps in the show that are rooted in something. Like there was a baffling line in this episode where Cal tells Juliet to come to her house for dinner. And she says something about how there won't be a single green.
Okay. She said, because Juliet took over, it's very important that the setup is correct. Okay. So Cal is like, you should come over for dinner. And she goes, oh, sure. How will I work that in the conversation? I'm the one that killed that man. Pass the salad. To which Cal responds, there won't be any salad. There won't be a single green on that table. And then a seemingly humongous pause before she says, my dad is cooking, which is the only thing that makes that an acceptable line. Because in episode 1, the Burns family is eating dinner and they're all scooping pasta. And Talia literally says, I better see some salad on that plate. I was like, what in Christ's name are we doing?
Okay, but which again, that in and of itself, it's not that that's bad writing. I would even go as far as to say it's good writing in that it's character informing.
It's also it's a callback, but it's like not.
But it takes on faith that we are that devoted to this show that
Apparently
joke
I
is.
am.
That joke is gonna pay off
8 episodes later,
and it's also it was delivered with severity, so Cal didn't even play it off as there's not gonna be.
She was like, there will not be a single.
There will be nary a shade of vert.
Which is so weird.
Well, also in the beginning, they are being raked over the coals by the cops because that body of Cook was discovered by Philippa's dog. So it's like they were having teenagers were hanging out in the woods drinking White Claws. And the police were like, not on my watch. Which one of you murdered this man?
So they were interviewing everybody.
Okay, again, they did say, they're like, we don't think you did it. We just need to. It was a level of the investigation that I just don't think the show needed. And then also we then meet Philippa. Also, what was her name? Cy, or what did he call? We meet her dad.
Oh, Pipsy.
Add it to the list.
Yep.
And he's a piece of work who's also joined Ma'am. And it's that specific shade of pink. It's the Women for Trump shade, explicit shade of pink. And the characterization of this angry mob consists of 12 people. And normally I don't try to be super nitpicky about that, especially when they're most likely dealing with a shoestring budget.
How are these 12 people holding this town hostage?
Menace.
Yeah.
And Bunny,
At least with Moo on Buffy, it ended up all of the parents. Every single adult in town joined Moo.
I cannot make heads or tails of Bunny.
No.
The actress is having a great time. But she's from a Dolly Parton holiday movie.
Yeah.
Like Christmas on the Square.
Sure.
And she's that Shania Twain, man, I feel like a woman. I don't know. It was
Well,
bizarre.
She's whittling steaks and using all the dog whistle language.
It was so bizarre.
Also, it makes sense now why they're divorced, presumably.
Well, how does she have time in between her drinking?
She has to be just low grade hammered constantly.
Slotched.
Yeah.
Oliver, I forget, he has it out for Eleanor.
We don't really know why. He claims that she's the reason he got kicked out of the family.
He's making a good case for his own.
I don't really know. His hand was demonstrably on the Devil Tarot card. So who the fuck knows?
First of all, the House of Cards, that alone, I was like, huh? But then him and Carmen make out on it. They topple the House of Cards. The camera pushes in. His hands on the devil. And then it does a filter.
Yeah.
And like a light, like a beam of light shined on the devil.
Yeah, but then that when he and Sebastian were just completely having full sex together in the Fairmont house, I forgot we got this weird flash of images of like a dead turtle falling into a terrarium and a boat covered in blood like it was Friday the 13th and the blood on hands. And we both were like, what?
What does that mean?
I don't know.
So Theo and Apollo, Theo goes to try and get information from Eleanor. And
No, Apollo did that. That was Apollo.
Right.
Okay. It was Apollo's
Mhm.
plan, and Theo was like, I'll come with you, despite the fact that this town is on a full lockdown. A like shelter in place monster lockdown, regardless. They decide Theo's like, I'll take you. They go, and then apparently 5 minutes is too long.
There were like 6 separate places where Theo just didn't listen to or do
No.
what he was supposed to. And
Because I think this was still about them trying to find out who killed Theo's
he's trying
mother.
to find out, he's trying to get from Eleanor the symbols, like
Yeah.
who, and to get that sort of subterfuge, to get that information out of her, is going to be a long
Yeah.
con.
Like more than one date.
Because literally while they're making out, I was like, she's not stupid. Why is this happening this way? And at that exact moment, she then acknowledged it, but
Yeah.
it was like, so they're making out. Theo
Comes crashing into the bathroom.
It reminds, so they fight. It's funny. It reminds me of, so this show is really giving me Teen Wolf vibes, especially the Teen Wolf season 1. You know, Teen Wolf season 1 is a better show all around than this.
Yeah.
But I think,
But it's one of the worser seasons.
well, it's that is an example of a show that grew into itself and
Exactly.
really hit a place where it soared. So watching this show, for me, I'm interested enough, and it's truly the world building. I find the entire world and a large chunk of the tone. I think the tone is only 60% there. I think it needs to be a little bit more deliberately funny.
I agree. I feel like it doesn't completely know what.
Like Bunny needed to make a steak joke when she was making the steaks.
Sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And like, because all she said was, I'm making steaks. And it's like, that's not enough to be funny.
She should have been like, pass the mashed potatoes or something.
Yeah.
There needed to be a bit more. It needs to be more serious or more silly. And I think silly is the correct.
Definitely.
But it does give me, I said to you halfway through, I was like, there's a good season 2 in this show.
I agree.
And it's part of why I'm sticking with it and part of why I'm doing this, and the aforementioned absurdity that is keeping me entertained.
Yeah.
All of that was to bring up, there was a scene in season 3 of Teen Wolf where we love the writer Bryce Peterson, and his recaps of Teen Wolf were excellent. And he was like, I get it, and it's actually kind of cool, but he was like, it still is really unnerving or upsetting watching these men beat these women.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
there was like 2 scenes with the Eleanor fight.
Yeah.
He like punched her one and then like smashed her face into the sink. And I was like, ah! And so they try to stake her, which again, Theo is like purely for funsies.
Yeah.
He established that was his reason for being there, was to watch her be in pain. He knows nothing about her other than this hunter monster code.
Yeah.
And it's equally as frustrating because the obvious place for this show to go is these 2 great families
Uniting somehow.
work together in some way.
I mean, it's like you said, he is Tybalt / Mercutio, obviously, but at the same time, I'm just sort of like, you didn't have to come in guns blazing. Apollo was laying groundwork sloppily, but he was doing it.
And having fun.
Yeah.
While doing it. And that's really the key.
Yeah.
But so anyways, they completely set her up. She outmaneuvers them.
Yeah.
And it winds up with Theo getting staked.
By Apollo.
Yeah.
With a metal stake, too.
Yeah.
I assumed it was silver, but.
And I just don't care. I'm angry at what I think this is going to do to the show.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Apollo needs to be mad at Eleanor. I don't think that Apollo needs to blame himself. I don't think anyone needs to blame Apollo.
Yeah.
And also, I don't
Well,
care.
Theo's dead, so that's one person that's definitely not going to blame him.
Well,
who,
like,
who absolutely would have.
Sure, but it's like I like Theo, and also he was the hot one. Well, everybody's hot.
Everyone's hot, yeah.
In different ways, but it's like
he was the hottest.
Being so annoying that I'm sort of like, good riddance.
Yeah.
So it just didn't have the effect that it was meant to.
Not the oomph it should have garnered.
I really think so. At this point, there's also that fucking one of our least favorite tropes is a lady cop with a French braid. She didn't have a literal French braid.
She didn't have enough hair for a French braid, but she was being a real cunt.
She was being a twat. I have more respect for her. she was doing her job fine. She was doing her job too well, and it was the problem because.
Well, but then she made it personal about Juliet
twice.
You're able to make that joke because of your daddy, and I was just like, "Fuck you!"
I was like, "Why did you just test her then?" I don't know, because she was right too, but then they fucking think it's Calliope. So I don't know. It was
stupid.
It was strange. Calliope is currently at the Fairmount house.
Yeah.
I think the only way for this to end is Juliet's going to turn Calliope. They foreshadowed it with Margot and Sebastian, and one of them isn't going to die, and both of them are going to die. It's not that literal, but Romeo and Juliet. And so I think that's really the only place we're heading.
Interesting.
So is there any, we've been talking for a while, but there was a lot to talk about.
This episode was a lot.
Is there any?
I think that's mostly it. Yeah, mostly it. So I guess we'll go watch the finale and then we'll be right back.
In spite of it all, I'm having fun.
It's very entertaining.
I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Even if it's
a
frustrated.
Yeah.
So.
Bye.